Okay, we are ready to make our jollof rice. And just a little anecdotal story about jollof rice. Jollof comes from the Wolof people of Senegal. And there's actually a war going on between Nigerians, Ghanaians, and Cameroonians about who has the best tasting jollof rice. We're going to try this recipe, and I'm going to suggest another recipe that you can try. This one is from Nigeria, and I have one in a book I've suggested for you also that's from the Cameroon. They're all delicious. It's a sub-Saharan West African one-pot dish. Usually it has vegetables, tomatoes, rice, and for meat eaters it has fish or some other kind of meat, but we are doing plant-based jollof rice, which usually you will have that as a side dish at events and also along with the mai. So let's get started. For our jollof rice this evening, we're going to have for our vegetables, we have tomatoes, bell peppers, different colors for different amounts of more flavor. So we have green, yellow, orange, and red. We have a Scotch Bonnet Pepper if you like heat. If you're not into heat that much, you don't have to put that in, but it does give it flavor, authentic flavor. And we're going to use some of these scallions as well to give additional flavor with our vegetables. We also are going to have an onion in that. As far as the spices, this is one dish that I'm making that I'm not adding any salt at all. So it doesn't have any kind of high sodium intake. Plenty of potassium. It has a lot of phytochemicals from your peppers, lots of lycopene, tomatoes. We're going to have spices, curry powder, which is salt-free, ginger root, ground ginger root, and organic garlic granules. So getting started, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to blend all of our vegetables up in our blender here. I wanted to show you how beautiful and colorful this blender of vegetables really is, with your tomatoes, your green bell pepper, red bell pepper, orange and yellow bell peppers, and your green onions and red onions and your Scotch bonnet. It's just absolutely gorgeous. And so I wanted to make sure that you could see that. Just full of wonderful phytonutrients and antioxidants, as well as fiber and deliciousness. And so we're going to go ahead and blend that up again for you in our blender here. And again, I'm going to add 1 cup of water to the blender to help with the blending of these vegetables. And I think we've achieved that. I did show you that before, so I'll show it to you again. That's just absolutely aromatic and beautiful. So we're going to go ahead and add that to our pot. And I also put a little bit of water down here in the bottom of the pot as well. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to let those cook down until the water cooks down, and that doesn't really take very long. So we're going to go ahead and let that cook down. Our mixture of vegetables is boiling. I'm going to try to show you how beautiful that looks. Nice, and it's red, but not as red as we want it to get. And that's why we're going to be adding some tomato paste. Okay, so that's cooked down very nicely. And now we're going to add in our tomato paste. And I'm putting in that amount because I put 3 tomatoes in here, so we don't need as much tomato paste. But we will see just in a few how beautifully red our mixture becomes by adding that. So I'm going to stir it. It's really good to use a wooden spoon when you're cooking. I always use stainless steel pots for cooking because they're just the most worry-free. You don't have to worry about reading for toxins and things like that in your pot, and they cook evenly. So I support stainless steel, and they're sturdy, so you can cook things very comfortably in them. So next we're going to add our oil. So I have a 1/4 cup of vegetable oil. I like sunflower oil, that's my preference. Organic, unrefined sunflower oil. Now once you add that in there with the tomatoes, it's going to start spitting. So it's a good idea to get your lid ready so that you don't get burnt. Our spices, we have 1½ tablespoons of curry, a tablespoon of granulated garlic, and a tablespoon of ground ginger. And these also are all organic spices. So we're going to go ahead and try to show you what that looks like. I'm hoping you can see. So we'll just keep stirring, and then that's going to cook down. Okay, and it's already starting to spit. So I'm going to get my lid so that I don't get burnt, and let it start cooking. We have our Maggi cube, which I talked about. We're going to put that in there as well. And I just want to put just a little bit of water with that to get it kind of softened. So if you're curious of where am I getting the water from, I'm getting it from my filter water from my refrigerator. So we're going to let that round and around and around so that we can get that to soften a little bit before we add that in. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this from the burner stove. And let me just show you how nice and red, beautifully red that's becoming with our added tomato paste. And so we're going to go ahead and let that cook just a little bit more. And then we're going to put in our 2 cups of rice. And here are our 2 cups of rice, which I've already rinsed several times until the water was clear. I use Uncle Ben's parboiled rice. You can use another kind of parboiled rice. It's better if you use parboiled because your cooking time is shortened. And once we add this in, we'll add a little bit more water and we'll let it cook down into the mixture so that all of the spices are absorbed into the rice as it cooks for about 30 minutes. And so now that we've got it to where it's really cooked down and beautiful, and I'll try and show you one more time how gorgeous this actually is. I hope you can see that very well in the camera here. And we're going to go ahead and just add our rice right on top. Okay? I'm going to add that right on top. And again, I'm going to show you what that looks like. We're adding the rice on top. Okay? I'm going to put the lid back on here. while I get a little bit of water to add to it so the rice has extra water to cook. Go ahead and stir that in, and then we're going to turn our heat down. Okay, it's time to turn the heat down. I turn mine to low so that it could cook longer and evenly and absorb those beautiful nutrients and vegetables. And you need to periodically stir, especially if you're using stainless steel so it doesn't stick to the bottom and burn. So I kind of come back and stir it every 5 or 10 minutes or so until the 30 minutes is up. Okay, so we'll leave that cooking, and I made some earlier today, so we want to show you this evening what it's going to look like once it finally cooks. And you have this beautiful, beautiful pot of jollof rice. So I'm going to show that to you. Here's our final jollof rice. I'm going to put it on a plate. Leave this here. And so here we have jollof rice. And it smells absolutely wonderful, and it tastes absolutely delicious.